We're going to have a very interesting conversation today. I think it is going to be very, very helpful. It is something I talk to my clients about a lot, but haven't really gotten to share with all of you yet. So really excited to kind of dive into this. One thing that's really important about what we're going to talk about today about numbers not changing the outcome, but changing the strategy is that what's really important to me in being on here and giving value to you guys, all that kind of stuff, is helping you not to just, do the right thing or take the right step or whatever that is, but really helping you guys see how I think about business. And so you can start applying that, right? And so what I really believe is that so much of what's wrong in our space is that we're like, just do this, just do this, just do this, versus being like, here's how I'm thinking about it. Here's why this makes sense. And here's how to apply it. So we get so step-based that we forget the idea that it's really learning how to think about business that's ultimately going to grow your business, going to make it really sustainable, going to help you apply it to you. And so that's what I really want you guys to take away from, all conversations we have, but very particularly this conversation, because it really is how I think about so many of the things we're doing with clients in their business. And if you can learn how to think about it like that and then apply it to your own business, that's where the magic starts to really happen, right? You're not like, well, Lacey said this thing on a live stream, so I guess I'll do it. You're like, ooh, I can see how that applies to me in this way, and what an amazing result I could get if I did it like this. And so that's the whole point here. So anyway, just wanted to share that before we dive in, because I feel like that ability to learn how someone that's creating the results you want is thinking about it versus just what they're doing is where all the magic lies in business. Who agrees with me on that? If you are listening and you agree with me, can you tell me? Can you tell me you do? I just want the confirmation. No, but seriously, like, drop me an emoji. I think it's like so important. We say like, yes, normalize that. That is true. That is helpful. Because that can change the game in terms of like how content is actually becoming useful in our industry. It's like why on literally I'm like doing those clip-ins and telling you why I'm asking what I'm asking and how we're thinking about it, so that that piece translates, instead of just the like, oh, Lacey told someone to go post like this, so I'm supposed to go post like this. That's not the thing that you're going to take away from literally. So anyway, now that I've gone off on a tangent, that's where we're at. Okay, so today's conversation around how to think about business is, Tristan said agreed. Thank you, Tristan. Today's conversation around how to think about business is this idea of numbers not changing the outcome, but changing the strategy. So let me tell you what I mean by that. So what I see get people stuck a lot is that they'll look at someone that they really, look up to or admire or whatever, and they see that they have X amount of people in their audience. Like someone comes into my group and they're like, oh my God, there's like, whatever, I don't even know if there's like 14,000 people in this group or something along those lines. And so if I want to get the results Lacey's getting, I have to have 14,000 people. And we make it all about the numbers, or like, if I want to convert, then I have to have X numbers and all of this stuff. And we get so obsessed with this idea of numbers, and we think having the numbers is what's standing between us and the goal, right? Who has been there? All of us have been there. Hi, Shari. Yes, times 1,000, right? So many of us have been there, have had that belief or that feeling that numbers are the singular thing that impact my results, right? And clients get really attached to that in different ways. Like the number of sales page views I have means something. It means, this thing is like gonna fail, or it's not gonna fail, or whatever, right? So we do it on a big scale, like my audience numbers mean everything, but we do it on smaller scales too, like the number of clicks or the number of sales page views or whatever, right? What I'm always saying to clients is like, numbers do not have to change your outcome, but they for sure have to change your strategy. And so what I mean by that is like, if I have 1,000 people, whatever, in a challenge or an event, and I want to get, whatever, 10 people in a mastermind from that, I'm going to have a different strategy than if I have 100 people in a challenge or an event. and I still want to get 10 people in a mastermind from that. What a lot of our industry will say is, no, like it only matters what the number is, and the number is ultimately going to be the dictator of how many people you get in your mastermind. And I don't believe that to be true. I think you could get, that 10 people off having 100 people. I think you could get it off having 1,000. I don't think it matters. I just think how you approach it is going to be different. Now, for all intents and purposes, if you want to get 1,000 people in a program, like, you have to have at least that many come into your thing, right? So I'm not saying that they don't matter at all, right? So this is not to say they don't matter at all, right? Okay. But it is to say that we make them matter so much that we don't change our strategy. We don't adapt. We just decide it's not possible right off the bat. We barely even launch a lot of the times or finish the process or whatever because we decide that the number means something. Does that make sense? Hi, Harshot. Michelle says, I definitely remember learning that. Or, oh no, I just lost it. Michelle, can you re-say that? Can you just like copy and paste it? I don't know if that's a giant pain in the ass, but for some reason I can only see so many. Shari says, I have a feeling today's topic is going to be my love language. So good. Hi, Isma. She says, how would your strategy be if you had less the amount? I'll definitely get to that. Don't worry about that. Hey, Kristen, relationships matter more. Totally. So a lot of times that's what'll happen is someone will say like, oh, I only have this many people opening or this many people clicking or this many people in my event or whatever. Oh, hold on. I got to grab that so I don't miss it. Oh no, it went away again. What the heck, Michelle? I'm so sorry. That's so weird. So they'll think, I don't have this many people, so I'm not going to get this result. And so then what happens is they just stop the strategy altogether. And what my belief is it just makes you pivot the strategy, right? And so if you can get in that mindset of like, the number does not have to be the sole impactor, everything gets easier, right? Michelle says perfectly. I definitely remember learning that early on. It's always nice to find folks who are like me. Let me just flip this leaf upside down. Exactly. Yes. Shari says, plus you can't track the lurkers, but they buy too. 100%. Right. And you also, typically, this is very normal. Like if you have a small audience, you're going to have a much higher conversion rate than if you have a really large audience, your conversion rate just goes down. I mean, that's even true when you're looking at the trend of like companies wanting to work with micro influencers because their conversion rate is so much better a lot of times than someone with 1.1 million followers or whatever that is, right? That one wasn't you. I copied and pasted something really weird. Oh, good. Okay, good. I'm glad it wasn't just my lack of tech skills or ability to see comments. So, that's just true. Like we're just making so many assumptions. Like if I have a big audience, that's the ticket. Well, if you have a big audience, you still have to do some of the work because your conversion rate's actually going to go down and your strategy has to adapt to that, right? And so it's really interesting to see how much we make that mean. But it's so funny because that particular metric of like number, list size, audience size, whatever, actually really, really is not even close to being, the whole of what suggests that we're going to be successful, have a great launch, get the result we want, etc. In fact, again, sometimes that makes it harder. Okay. So basically I want to go through some examples because I think it'll be really helpful, but let's just start with something really basic, like a launch, like say you're in a launch, you're doing a conversion event and you want that number that we were talking about, like you want 10 people. So if you have a really small group that's doing this event, your strategy is going to be to personally connect with every single fucking person that's doing it, right? So you might be able to reach out to every person that signs up. You might be able to encourage them every day. You might be able to comment on every comment or every post that gets posted in your Facebook group for the challenge, or you might be able to respond to every single comment on a live training or answer every single person's question, right? So that becomes your strategy. You're going deeper with a smaller amount of people. As you grow bigger, you literally can't do that. And I will tell you that you don't want to necessarily glamorize that. Like so many of my clients that have grown really fast are like, oh my God, it was so much fucking easier when I could just connect with everyone that was in a challenge. It's so different having to do it at scale in this different way. And so again, not glamorizing this idea that like, just because it gets bigger, it gets easier. That's not necessarily true at all. Sometimes it's easier when you can literally talk to and touch every person. And that's why your conversion rates are going to potentially be so much higher, and why you can still hit the same outcome, even if the audience is so much smaller, right? But again, like, so let's say the opposite. Say now you have 1,000 people in this thing. Well, you're not going to be able to answer everyone's question. You're not going to be able to comment on everyone's posts. You're not going to be able to personally reach out to everyone, right? The game totally changes. And so, I want to read Sherry's comment too before I lose it. Sherry says, yes, I love that you're speaking to this, because it's not always about growing our audience or reaching more people. When a client comes to me with a bigger launch goal, we always have two options: cast a wider net, grow your audience, or focus on increasing conversion rate. Totally, exactly. And so not only do you decide what you want to focus on, but then once you're in it, you really lock in on that thing. Like, how can I touch every person, make this conversion rate higher, instead of like, oh man, my audience wasn't big enough for this, and now I don't get the result I want. Nope. That is like the exact wrong way to think about it, right? Exact wrong way. Right. So as you grow bigger, you have all these people. So you have to have a different strategy. You have to speak to them even more effectively in copy. You have to get really good at overcoming objections on a broader scale, like on a live stream. You have to know your people inside and out so you can speak to those things without being in one-on-one conversation. But you can see how the two tie together. If when I have the small audience, I spend all that time connecting with them, doing personal outreach, using that strategy, then it supports it so that when my audience grows, I know that conversation well enough that I can have it on a live stream, that I can have it in emails more effectively. But one leads to the other, right? But if at this beginning stage, you just keep telling yourself that it's not going to work because the numbers aren't there, you never fully go into that. And then it makes it harder to grow. Does that make sense? Where it's like this step of connect with everyone that you can increase your conversion numbers, know your audience intimately, is what grows it. And when you grow it is what makes it easier when you're here to cast that wider net and speak to everyone when you can't speak to people individually. You have to know your people so well. And so if you miss that initial step, telling yourself that story, you lose on both fronts, right? Even if you like pay for, a ton of people to come in via ads or whatever, like if you hadn't nailed this part where you can convert them well and you get them, trust me, it's harder when you have 1,000 people to convert than it is when you have 100 if you don't know them really well, right? Hi, Maggie. Maggie says, I am picking up what you are throwing down. Aw, thank you. You're the best. So really one leads to the other, but the strategy is different in the moment. So really want to kind of help you see that it's not just that one thing. It's like the strategy of I have small numbers is I go deep. The strategy of I have bigger is I go wide. So for example, like in a launch, if we had small numbers, I might tell a client, reach out to every single person that clicked, talk to them, start a conversation with them, connect with them, whatever. If we have bigger numbers, we might do something like reach out to every person that's clicked more than 3 times, right? Because we have to figure out like, how do we still create that personal approach, but we have to like narrow that in. But something again to say there is the strategy shifts, right? In the sense that, okay, my strategy is like, I'm only going to reach out to people that have clicked more, but I'm not reaching out to people either. And again, that gets really glamorized. Like when we have small numbers, we're like, oh, I can't wait until I like don't have to do this. Well, that's not really a thing either. If you want to keep getting better at this, keep converting more, keep knowing your audience intimately, right? The best thing you can do in a launch is reach out to people, hear what they're saying, understand what their objections are, have conversations. Like that's how you get good. Like that is truly how my clients are able to have such ridiculous launches, such big numbers for their audience size, because they keep doing things like that, right? So it just changes the strategy, but it absolutely does not have to change the outcome. Hi, Kristen. I did have a beautiful wedding. Thank you so much for your congratulations. It was amazing. Hi, Neelam. Trisha says personal touch always converts 110%. Right. So it's going to look different depending on how many people you have in your audience or in your launch sequence or whatever that is. But we have to really, really remember not to make it wrong on either front, because that's when we stop. We freeze. We think that it means we won't get what we want, and then we don't bother with the personal outreach. We don't, even try because we're already decided it doesn't work. Like, oh, I wanted 300 people in this challenge and I only got 100. That literally does not have to change your outcome at all. It just changes how you approach it. So another example might be something like sales page views, right? So sometimes we can get really obsessed with these metrics, right? Like, oh my gosh, I only have 100 sales page views, and so I'm probably not going to hit the number I want. That just changes our strategy. So if we know we're low on sales page views, then our strategy becomes, how do we push people to the sales page? How do we get them excited to go to the sales page? How do we do a giveaway or give them some exciting reason to go there and look at something, right? So again, it doesn't have to change the outcome of get sales page views up and get high conversions, but it is going to change the strategy if that's not playing out how you want it to play out, or if that's lower than you want it to be. But again, the sticking point is that so many of us will look and be like, oh, I only have that many page views. No one's looking and it's not going to happen. No, it just changes your strategy, right? So it just makes you rewrite the page, get people really excited to get there, send more people to it, right? And so when you can be really adaptive like that in a launch, during a sales cycle, whatever, everything changes. When you have this set expectation in your head of people that have big numbers don't have to worry about any of this shit. People that have big numbers never have to do outreach. People that have big numbers never have to worry about sales page views. You're totally missing the point. They've worried about it at every different step of the way, right? Not worried about it, but paid attention to it, so to speak, right? So that they've gotten better and better and better at it over time, right? They did all that personal outreach to learn about their audience so that they could be better at converting an email, so that their sales page copy was even more effective, so on and so on and so forth, right? So if you take every single thing like that happens as ooh, this is an opportunity for me to change the strategy so that I can still get the outcome I want, you get so much more empowered too, right? So think about how disempowering it is to feel like, I don't have the people I want. The people aren't doing what I want them to do. They're not signing up. I don't have the people I want in this event or on my sales page or whatever. So I don't get to have what I want. It's the worst feeling ever, right? It makes you resentful of your audience. It makes you feel, excuse me. Oh my goodness. It makes you resentful of your audience. It makes you feel like nothing you're doing is working. But the thing is that it's really about taking your power back there and going, okay, well, the strategy probably has to change, but my outcome does not. That's when you take all your power back. That's when you're able to go, what's next? What do I need to shift? Who needs to hear from me? What outreach do I need to do? What email do I need to send, right? Hey, Claire. Claire says, love you. Thank you for helping me fill my program last week. You're so welcome. Huge congrats on filling your program. It's so amazing. So another example I would give here is even hitting a certain income goal. Again, the numbers don't have to change the outcome. They have to change the strategy. So if you have a goal, I'm just going to make something up, to hit 10K months, right? But you only have 100 people in your audience. Well, then yeah, the strategy that makes the most sense is probably not to sell 100 people a $100 program, right? You only have 100 people in your audience. So the numbers might change our strategy. The way to get to 10K months then might be to sell, I don't know, I can't math, 5 people a 2K a month program, right? that's totally doable with 100 people in your audience. Could we get 5 of them to buy and be in, your $2,000 a month program? Of course, right? So that's even true. Like when your audience size is a certain way, again, it doesn't have to mean, well, you can't hit 10K months. It just means the strategy looks different, right? So that's so empowering, because it doesn't feel like it's this thing that's so far off, or like I couldn't get 10 people, or I couldn't get to 10K. That story keeps you stuck when you're like, okay, so my strategy might not be the same as this person I look up to who's selling, 1,000 things for $10, but my strategy might definitely be sell 5 things at 2K. So do you see what I mean there, and how really empowering that can get when you don't have to feel like the result is not possible? You just have to feel into how you can get it. I'm always challenging clients around that, even with like launches. Say they have this like huge launch number that they want to hit and they're close or whatever. I'm always even challenging them, like, think outside the box. Like, can you maybe sign a one-on-one client from this launch too? Can you maybe sell 2 intensives during this launch too? Like, how else can we get to what we want by changing the strategy, instead of constantly feeling like, well, I just can't get that. I just can't have that, right? Neelam says, I channeled that February's focus is all about taking your power back. Interesting. So in alignment with what? With taking your power back, are you saying? I don't think so, but I will take that. Because I am feeling that right now too. I really agree with you. Like, I feel like that's such a thing in business. Like, if you can pull that all the way back in, if you can feel like, okay, cool, I can still get what I want, even if I might have to do different things, everything gets easier. If you guys haven't listened yet, I did a podcast with my friend and client, Julia Wells. It's on her podcast. Her podcast is called Wait, What the Fuck? Well, it's wait, ... WTF if you're searching for it. And we were talking on that podcast because she recently signed a 100K client. And we were talking about that experience. And I said to her, oh my gosh, like, are you so excited? You had one post and you signed this client. And she said to me, it was super exciting, but honestly, I would have made 100 posts if I needed to. And I'm probably going to keep reminding you guys that of forever, because that's this. It's like, I would have kept going. I would have changed the strategy. I would have done it more. I would have done it different to get what I want, versus thinking that how things are set up means I can't have what I want, right? Harjot said, this is so true. Oops. I hit 100K without a list because I was able to connect to my smaller audience. Yes. So good. Congratulations. Michelle says the podcast with Julia was so good. So long, but so good. Yeah. Okay. So actually that's a really fair point and fair warning. It's like 2.5 hours long. So sorry about that. But really that is such an important point in it. And if you missed it, we also did a live Q&A in her Facebook group. Her Facebook group is called Visible AF. And so we did, I think, like a 90-minute live Q&A, and we were talking about that as well, which is this idea of like, if someone had asked, like, my list or my Facebook group isn't that engaged, and we were just talking about different stuff. And I was saying kind of like, okay, can you go message every person in that group and be like, hey, like, I would love to have you engage here more, that kind of thing. And again, it's just one of those things. Oh, thank you, Maggie. Maggie dropped the link if you missed it. So it's just one of those things where it's like, what else am I willing to do? What else am I willing to go after? How do I keep changing my strategy? If my people aren't engaging, how do I personally reach out to all of them? How do I change the strategy versus decide the outcome has to change? Yes, thank you, Neelam. Oh, I meant 10K, not 100. I think I read 10K, but I might have said 100. I'm just manifesting that for you, Arjan. 100K it is. Michelle says, I enjoyed every minute of it, especially since my husband was working nights. I needed something to occupy me. Oh, so good. So good. Yes, set the intention for sure. So yeah, basically this is kind of how I want you to be thinking about it. Like, if I'm not getting what I want, how do I change the strategy? Right. So I think that another, example here would be if I'm in the middle of a launch and people aren't buying how I want them to buy, right? So it's basically like, I maybe even have like some of the numbers, but I don't have the purchases I want. Okay, cool. So then my strategy needs to be shifting to meet that. I need to not just keep seeing the launch through and go, oh, well, okay, I guess I'll just keep doing what I'm doing. I need to kind of be able to go, okay, cool. So what's actually happening here? Okay, well, is what's happening that I'm not getting clicks, or am I getting a ton of clicks? This actually just happened with one of my clients recently. Like, she was in a launch, she was getting so many clicks, so many sales page views, so much interest, but not getting the sales numbers. And so we had to be like, okay, so that doesn't have to change our outcome, but how do we change our strategy? And so we really pivoted the strategy to do a lot of objection overcoming, a lot of emails around that, a lot of live streams around how to get out of your own way, why you might not be purchasing, why you want it but aren't actually diving in, all of this stuff. And she was able to get a really fantastic result at the end of it. Most of the people came in at the end. But again, you see how it's one of those things where you could kind of go, oh, well, I'm not getting the sales I want, bummer, I guess I just won't hit my income goal. Or you can be like, cool, the numbers are telling me something, and they're telling me that I need to change my strategy. How do I adapt and do that as quickly as possible so I can still get the outcome that I want, right? Tristan said I set it 2.75 speed and it carried me through my 4-hour DMV visit. Oh my God, that sounds awful. It was the best and loved every second of it. So funny. Oh my gosh, a 4-hour DMV visit does sound a little rocky though. How important is doing PR once you have been in business for a few years and pivoting? I mean, it just depends. I think that, PR it's definitely something that gets you a lot of credibility and exposed to new audiences in a different way. I don't think it's like the biggest conversion tool. So I would never be encouraging a client to do a lot of PR unless they were already really good at converting their audience. But once you're really good at converting your audience, that interest, that credibility builder that PR gives can really be helpful. So yeah, it just depends kind of again on your numbers, your strategy, but I definitely think like knowing how to convert and then pulling in the PR is really important. Oh, Ashley says this, ton of sales page hits, not as many sales. Okay, cool. So Ashley, this is like the perfect conversation for you, right? So that doesn't have to change your outcome. It just helps you change your strategy. So the two things I would say is like, on the sales page, like what are the opportunities to rework that sales page, to focus maybe even more on objections on the sales page. I would be reaching out to people that have clicked and asking them, hey, I saw you checked out the sales page. Like, are you thinking of joining us? What's stopping you? I would be talking to objections a ton, doing a lot of like personal outreach to try to have conversations with your clients. I don't know if you're on Insta or Facebook, but like literally just asking, hey, if you've been on the sales page and you haven't bought, can you tell me why not? Can you tell me what's coming up for you? Say more about it. Like really going into that. What most people kind of do when the numbers aren't looking how they want it to look is we almost like back away from it or shy away from it, or we don't want to post and ask that or whatever. I think Julie and I were even talking about that in our Q&A. Like most of us don't want to say, hey, why aren't you buying? But if you can do that and you can learn from that, your strategy can flip immediately because you can figure something out that you had no idea. I'll actually give you an example of this. So back when value-centered sales used to be, like an actual course group program, now it's just a 3-person mastermind. But back when it was a program like that, I think it was the first time I sold it, I was really surprised that we didn't have as big of a conversion rate as I thought. So I started just doing market research calls with people and asking. And what I found, which I would have never guessed this in a million fucking years, is so many people in my audience were saying, I don't think I'm ready for sales yet. I don't think I'm ready for sales yet. I think I'm too early on and I'm not ready for sales. And I was like, what the what? Like, sales are like, you need them right away. Like, they're the most important thing. What are, like, no. But it was amazing because I was able then to go do a ton of content around how you need sales immediately, how sales are not something you need to wait on in your business, how you shouldn't, have all these steps in place first. And oh, by the way, like value-centered sales takes you from the very, very beginning of starting the sale all the way through getting it. And so I was able to do all of this amazing marketing on something I never, ever, ever would have guessed. I promise you, I could have gone through like 100 scenarios and never have guessed, well, maybe they think they're too early on for sales. But I heard that from so many people when I did those calls, and it saved my launch and it changed the game, completely turned things around. And I think we actually exceeded our goal. So again, it doesn't have to change the outcome, but you absolutely have to get into that strategy, right? Ashley says I kept chugging through without changing the strategy. Yeah, totally. So it doesn't mean you like burn everything down. You guys know I'm not a fan of like throw it all away, but it does mean you really lean into, cool, what has to shift here? What has to happen here to still get me what I want, right? And to, still move the needle. And what I think can happen, and y'all tell me if you think this too, but I think so much in our industry, there's all these like rules around what makes whatever, like a great entrepreneur, or like what makes you high level. And it's like, don't like ever say that people aren't buying, or like, don't ever ask, or don't ever, reach out and ask that question, or don't ever do personal outreach, or all this stuff that we like put on a pedestal in some way, shape, or form that just keeps us stuck, right? It literally just keeps us from moving forward, from learning, from doing better at this launch, from doing better and better at the second launch, from still getting the outcome we want without having to have these huge numbers or whatever, because we put all these rules around what we think someone that's further along than us is doing or whatever. But I actually said this to someone yesterday, like even my clients that are going to make over $1 million this year still do personal outreach. They still have to pivot strategies during a launch. They still have to do all these things. They just don't make it mean a lot, and they don't make the numbers mean that they still can't have what they want. Right? They never think the numbers mean they can't have what they want, right? Michelle says, I'm so hanging on to this concept as I go into my next launch. It's so simple, but it's so easy to overcomplicate it. 100%. Hey, Jen. Exactly, Michelle. And that's what it is. When you can let numbers inform you, but not dictate your result, everything changes. One of my clients is like this super, super, super smart, amazing, like data wizard. And even she says this all the time. Like, I mean, she like lives and breathes numbers, and she is the first one to say to you, yeah, the numbers can inform it and they can shift, what you're doing or how you're doing it, but they don't have to dictate your end result. And so when you get into that place, and when you hear that from me, someone who's obsessed with mindset, when you hear that from her, someone who's obsessed with numbers and data, and you just can't get away from it, which is this idea of stop making the numbers mean so much. You can learn from them. You can glean information from them that helps you shift. But when you start getting to that point where they mean that you can't have what you want, you have lost, right? Because you'll just stop. You'll make up a story. You'll just keep going without making those adjustments. Does that make sense? Yeah. Ashley said, thank you. Now I can step back and tweak for next round. Totally. And Ashley, it might still be an opportunity. Like, I don't know how long ago you finished your launch or whatever, but even just reaching out to people that had clicked and being like, hey, I would love to get on a market research call for you. And you can then learn from it and know for next time, like offer them something in return. Like, and I'll give you, 20 minutes of free coaching. You give me 20 minutes of answering my market research questions or whatever, but that can totally change the game for next time too. Do you suggest a sales page for a recurring membership for warm audience who have already invested with you? Yes. I think anytime we can make it easy for someone to see what they're buying, like I really believe that sales are created from safety. We make more sales if we make people feel more safe. And so it's totally not necessary. I'm not saying that you have to, but I do think the more you can make someone feel, clear, like they know what they're buying, create safety around it, the easier it is, even if they're a warm lead or whatever. I think that matters. Like even when I upsell my clients to my mastermind. They've already worked with me for a year at that point. They're still getting a PDF, a video, all the things. They know me, they know I'm going to show up, but like it still does make a difference to create that safety. Oh yes, Ashley says I still can. We just started today, so I'm still selling for a couple days. Yes, yes, yes. Go do that. Let me know how it goes. That's going to be amazing. Shari says numbers are useful, but they don't have to be the boss. Totally, totally, totally. And I think that's the thing is when we make them the boss, we pedestal all this stuff, like having a big audience, and then we don't serve the small audience in front of us. Like the reason I have a big audience right now is because I served the shit out of people in this group when there were 50 people in here. That's why we have, you know, whatever it is, 14,000 or something like that now, right? And so if you can get in that mindset, everything gets easier. If you feel like, which I hear people say all the time, and I don't think they're coming from a bad place by any means. I think it's just like a narrative in our industry. They'll be like, my Facebook group only has like 100 people. So I don't know, it doesn't matter. I barely spend time in there kind of thing. And it's like, you have a fucking 100 people in front of you. Like go talk to every single one of them. Go message every single one of them. Go connect with every single one of them, right? That's how you get more people. That's how it continues to grow. Again, your strategy will look different. If you have 10,000 people in a group, you're not going to do that, right? Which, you know, isn't better. You know what, right? Like, I think that it's so easy to be like, oh, that would be nice to have 10,000 people and not even be able to do that. And it's like, yeah, but why is that better? Like, why wouldn't it be great to connect with all of these people? Like you're building a business because you want to serve them, start serving them, right? And I know it can be a time thing, but again, when you have a lot of people, you're spending more time on stuff like really perfecting those emails, really working on that objection overcoming in a live stream, et cetera, et cetera. It just changes. It's not necessarily better or worse, right? Kristen said, I always tell myself that numbers follow, they don't lead. Ooh, Kristen, I like that. That is good. That's even better than numbers don't change the outcome, they change the strategy. You should like put that on a quote graphic and share that shit everywhere. That's so good. I love that. That's so funny. I feel like my client that I was talking about that loves data would love that one too. So yeah, totally the thing. Really, really lean into this idea that, yeah, Shari likes it too. That's a nice mantra. Really lean into this idea that, excuse me, you can absolutely still get the outcome you want, but you are definitely going to probably have a different strategy than someone that's really far ahead of you. So another thing that is important to remember about that is that we so often look to people that are a lot further ahead than us and we try to copy their strategy. And so that's another takeaway I want you to have here, which is that usually can keep you really stuck because you're trying to copy the strategy of someone that has 10,000 people in their audience and you have 100. Your strategy just simply needs to be different. And that's not better or worse, but what happens is we'll take like a launch course or something from someone that just has massive amounts of people, and we're trying to apply it to our 100 people. And if that person isn't skilled at helping us apply it, we're going to get lost. We're going to create like a million sequences that we don't need. And we're never going to just outreach to the 100 people in front of us. And we're going to feel like we're doing a lot of work and getting really frustrated in the process, right? Tristan said, I was just saying this last week on a live, if you're not enjoying building it, you're not going to enjoy it when it's built. 100%. Couldn't agree more. Absolutely. Michelle says, I love that I currently get to connect with folks one-on-one since my audience is on the smaller side. I learn so much more about them and their struggles, and it allows me to support them that much better. It's building the foundation of someday when my business grows. Bingo, 100%. Absolutely. I really like this quote from this book. It's like not a business book at all. It's called The Fuck It Diet, but it's a really good book. The woman in it, her name's Caroline Dooner, and she says, what's the quote? Oh, how you build it is how you get there is how you will experience it, or how you build it is how you will experience it. And she's talking about diets. Basically, she's saying like, you know, if you're miserable the whole time, you're going to be miserable when you get the result kind of thing. But anyway, same thing is true in business. So I totally agree with you, Tristan. And Michelle, 100%. Like that is so powerful when you can see like the steps I'm doing now are what is going to make it easy for me to launch to 10,000 people or whatever that is, versus feeling like I must be doing something wrong now because my strategy looks different than someone that has 10,000. Like that's when everything changes and is so empowering. And again, that's the part of our industry that can get hard, is we think we're supposed to do it like that, or it's supposed to look like that, or that's better, right? Obviously, like I'm so thrilled with this group and I love everything about it, but there are parts of me that still does miss when there was 100 people and I could know every single person, right? And so again, it's this idea of like the number isn't better because it's bigger, it's just different. But also going back to that point of, that's why you have to be really, really careful to not like copy a strategy from someone that's just not in a similar place. And I think what sometimes gets confusing, not even like in a bad way, but basically just, you know, someone is really far along, they're trying to tell you what they did, but they forget that they did it really, really, really different a long time ago, kind of thing, right? And so that's important to think about too. And like even ask if you're purchasing a program or going into a program, like, hey, are you teaching me strategies for when I'm here? Or are you teaching strategies that you used when you only had this many people or whatever? That really puts you in your power to kind of make sure you're learning something and going to implement something that makes sense for where you are versus only makes sense once you've done XYZ things. Because that's how you can start making yourself wrong and doing a lot of work. It's not getting you the result. Because again, the numbers do change the strategy. So you have to make sure you're doing something that fits your numbers, right? Raquel says, yes, The Bucket Diet. Such a good book, right? I really love that book. This is awesome. Need to come back. Gotta go. Host my live meditation. Awesome. No problem, Neelam. Have a good day. Michelle says, I've always been impressed at how you usually respond to most comments, though. It's what made me stick around when I found this group. Thank you, Michelle. Yes. Super, super, super important to me. And obviously I have help and support with those things too, but like, that's just something I've always valued really highly in my business. And also again, and this is like super important to say, that strategy also makes a ton of sense for me and my business model in terms of being about one-on-one. So the one-on-one connection makes a shitload of sense for me, where someone else who maybe has 150 people in a group program, like they're just simply not going to be commenting on every comment in their free group all the time, right? So again, that's totally one of those things of it changes based on your business model, it changes what strategy makes sense for you. So again, like someone could look at me and be like, oh, Lacey comments on all these comments in her group, or on, what am I saying? Comments on all these posts, yeah, in her group. Maybe I have to do that. But if I am otherwise leading a group of 200 people, that stops making sense. So it's this idea of like, that's why it's hard to like copy paste a strategy. And that's why you have to start learning how to think about things like this. And so when you can think about numbers don't change the outcome, they change the strategy as it relates to you, your situation, your business, and you can go in eyes wide open to programs saying, hey, is it going to be related to this? Am I going to learn about it as it applies to whatever, having 100 people in my community or whatever? That's when you get really empowered. And that's when you start learning the right thing for you, making the right strategy for you, the right decisions for you. So hope that's really helpful. As you can tell, I'm very, very, very pumped about and on one about this idea of like, learn how to think about business. Do not just do what someone else is doing. So on that note, I have opened up a mindset forum. Well, I guess mindset strategy and execution forum, but the first one is a mindset forum called the Million Her Forum series. So basically what we're doing is we're doing 3 forums, February, March, April. First one is February 20th, and it's on mindset. I'm so excited. And basically this is like the gist of what I'm going to be teaching you is how to think about things versus exactly what to do, right? So I'm going to teach you how I think about mindset, how I walk my clients through mindset. Then I'm going to live answer questions and coach. every person and talk to you about, here's how I'm thinking about this. Here's why I'm coaching around this in this way, because I really want you to walk away knowing, oh, I literally get how Lacey thinks about mindset and I could apply that to my business. I fully get how Lacey's thinking about strategy and I know how to apply this. That is when you start really winning in business. When you, like, I literally feel like I just fucking get business. And so I feel super empowered. I feel like it's super easy, right? When I don't feel like I do, or when I feel like I get that I'm supposed to do this thing because someone said it, but so hard to stick in that. It's so hard to accomplish that. Same with mindset. When it's like, well, someone said I'm supposed to be doing mindset, so I guess I should. Versus like, I fully get mindset. I get why that matters. I get how to think about it and I get how to get results out of that. Complete fucking game changer. So basically for the Million Her Forums, the way it's going to work is I really want you to, well, let me say it a different way. So I really do want you to learn how I think about it. But what I really mean to say is you're going to actually, when you sign up, fill out a form. So I want to know about you. I want to know about your business. Again, I want to be making sure I'm answering questions as it relates to you, your business. Again, the whole point of this conversation is what I would tell someone launching with 2,000 people is very different than what I would tell someone launching to 100 people. And so that's why I'm having you fill out a form when you join, because I want to know you, know your business, know where you're at, because I know that's going to make the biggest difference in helping you get results. And in giving everyone that's listening context of here's how I'm thinking about it because of this situation in their business. So you'll fill out the form. You can ask questions on the form that I can answer anonymously when we're live, or you can get coached live. You're able to select either or both. Obviously, I can't promise to get to every question, but I will promise that you're going to walk away feeling like you get how to think about it. I'm only going to teach for like, I don't know, maybe like 20 minutes or something like that, give or take, but I'm long-winded, so hopefully 20 minutes. Then we'll do the live questions and coaching. And again, like really the point being, I want you to feel like I'm walking away getting how Lacey thinks about it, because truly like that's what I think creates the biggest results. That's why I believe in one-on-one so much, because I feel like that's my transmission for my clients. And so trying to give that on a different scale and in a different form, you know, you're not going to come and I'm not going to be like, these are the exact strategies. Here's what you need to do. That's not how I roll. It's also not how to get results. So I would love to have you all there. I think it is going to be so fun. Michelle says, super excited, really hoping my husband isn't working a 24-hour shift that day. Fingers crossed. So it's also super cheap. I really just wanted it to be accessible. So if you sign up for all three, it's $247. If you just join us for the first one in February, it's the 20th. It's like $99. So kind of can't miss it. Kind of amazing. Really just so excited to do this, to kind of, I don't know, like just connect with y'all. Like obviously I love being on live stream, but I think it's just going to be a totally different experience and situation, and to be able to like really coach and really answer your questions. And so haven't done anything like this before and like forever. My wait list has been full for almost a year now. So this is really big for me to be able to get out there and do this with y'all. So I'll put the link below. I don't remember it off the top of my head, but once I get off, I'll drop it. Would love to see you there. You are going to get so much value out of it. I really, really think it's going to change the game, and it's also going to help you help your clients, right? So if you start to get, this is how I'm thinking about business, it's so much easier to apply that to clients. This is how I'm thinking about mindset. It's so much easier to apply that to clients. So not only will it help you, but I really have a goal that it'll help you help your clients too. So would love to see y'all there. If you have questions about that, just let us know. You can always drop them on here, or, send us an email, support@alituplife.com. Get those answered for you. I'll drop the link and would love to see y'all there. So happy Monday. Have a great week, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.